What you just saw were lasers in the film Star Wars. Lasers are not only featured in films such as Star Wars and James Bond, but they can be found in everyday things such as DVD players, laser printers, and even grocery checkouts. What is a laser? A laser, as defined by the Oxford Dictionary, is a device that generates an intense beam of coherent monochromatic light, or other electromagnetic radiation, by stimulated emission of photons from excited atoms or molecules. Laser is an acronym for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So how do lasers work? Lasers only work because of the way light interacts with electrons. Electrons exist on the rings around the nucleus of an atom or molecule. Electrons on the outer rings have a higher level of energy than the electrons on the inner rings. Electrons on the inner rings can be bumped up to the higher energy levels with the injection of energy, which can come in the forms of light or heat. Electrons that move up energy levels don't stay at that energy level forever. The excited electrons eventually go back to their normal energy level, and when they go back, they shed excess energy in the form of photons. When an atom that is already excited is hit by a photon of a particular energy, it makes the atom emit a daughter photon with the same energy and direction, which is called stimulated emission. In a material full of excited atoms, you can start with one photon and amplify the signal to produce millions of identical photons. Most lasers contain a chamber called a cavity. A cavity is filled with excitable atoms with a mirror at each end. The atoms come in many forms, including carbon dioxide and rubies. Energy is added to the chamber, which causes the atoms to emit photons in all directions. Most of the photons are absorbed by the walls of the cavity, except for the ones reflected by the mirrors at each end. The photons bounce back and forth between the mirrors, hitting atoms along the way, amplifying themselves. One of the mirrors on one end is engineered to be 99% reflective, allowing 1% to come out, which we see as a laser beam. Because the photons are traveling in the same direction, the light that comes out is parallel. Lasers can be applied in many fields, such as industrial, environmental, communications, or medicinal. In the industrial field, lasers can be used to measure or indicate specific things, or in some cases, focused lasers can be used to cut metal. In the environmental field, lasers can be used to determine the amount of toxins in smoke from a distance and supervise wastewater purification. In communications, lasers act as a light source in fiber optic cables, which are used in data and telecommunications around the world. Lasers are also used in medicine for cosmetics or precision surgery, such as brain surgery or eye surgery. Although our lasers are not as advanced as the lightsabers in Star Wars, laser weaponry is beginning to make an appearance in the military. The United States Navy has developed a weapon system which emits an invisible laser beam hot enough to burn through targets or fry sensitive electronics. Costing only a few dollars per shot, lasers are much cheaper and more efficient than missiles or bombs, and soon may replace them. More uses are being found for lasers as the technology advances. Lasers are being used more and more often in our daily lives, and pretty soon we may become dependent on lasers.